Hello, gorgeous. You've clicked on this video because you are very much likely hungry all the time. It's either that or you're just curious about what I'm going to say. But for example, let's say you are that guy that are hungry all the time, right? And you might look something like this. Okay, you probably look, a little bit skinny fat, you've got a little bit of muscle going on, there's something there, there is something there, you've been going to the gym for a while, you're stronger than what you were, but you want to get to this point here, but the limiting factor is this: you're hungry all the time, and for that reason you can't shed off the body fat, you can't get rid of that little gut of yours, you can't get rid of that excess kind of love handles, these beautiful things right here, to create that shape, and really unlock this kind of physique in which you're looking for. It might not look like this, you might look slightly more advanced than this, you might be slightly fatter than this, but this is just kind of like a ballpark of what you might look like. The limiting factor as to why you can't get here is because you are hungry all the time, right? And this is a very, very common problem. Now, in the fitness industry, what you're going to find is a lot of people are just going to say, I just ignore the hunger. You've got to have some willpower. You've got to, you've got to suffer to get into amazing shape. And I'm not going to completely disagree with that. But at this point in time, you shouldn't be massively hungry because you've got body fat on you. You're overweight. Maybe when you get closer and closer to this, you might start feeling slightly more hungry because your body is actually getting into a point where it needs more food. At this point right here, you shouldn't be hungry. You aren't hungry, okay? What you actually are is something that we would call insulin hungry. You're probably wondering, what the fuck is insulin hunger? Like, how can you get a hunger that is not just direct hunger? To understand insulin hunger, we need to understand what insulin is, how the system works in our body, and then we can start relating it back to you and how we're going to fix it. Your pancreas produces insulin. Pancreas is the organ that is responsible for producing insulin. Insulin is essentially the key which helps you unlock glucose and use it for energy. When your body has an input of carbohydrates, or it can be an input of protein, it can be an input of fat, we're going to mostly talk about carbohydrates. Your body will release insulin through the pancreas. When your blood sugars are spiked, insulin is then put into the bloodstream to then convert that glucose into available energy for your cells. That's how this system works. It's quite straightforward. Anyway, focusing a little bit more on here, glucose, right? We have glucose in the body. The higher the spike in glucose, okay, the more insulin that is required to convert the glucose to cellular energy, right? More glucose, more insulin needed to use as the key to then convert into available energy. Obviously, the more of something that we need from a certain organ within our body, the more it's going to place strain on that organ to produce, okay? And at this point, we start putting more and more strain on the pancreas because we have more glucose. Your body then needs to make use of that glucose into energy. Your pancreas is working double time. What eventually happens is your pancreas can't keep up with the amount of insulin it needs to produce to make use of the glucose. At this point in time, and this is where a lot of people are, I'd say maybe like 90% of the population are, is this point of insulin resistance, okay? There is not enough insulin available to use glucose for energy, right? We don't have it. We don't have enough of the insulin at this point to convert the glucose to available energy. And what happens at this point is your body, in a point of insulin resistance, will just move glucose straight to body fat, okay? That's all that will happen, right? Your body will just go, can't use this, won't use it, store it as body fat for a later day. You become insulin resistant, you become insulin hungry, right? And the reason for that is your body doesn't know how to use its resources as fuel. It is as simple as that. Trying to give your body the energy it needs, it can't use the hormone insulin to convert that into available energy. Therefore, pancreas under strain, you become insulin resistant, and this is why you get hungry, because your body actually can't access the energy that you're giving it. Oh, you're giving it food. I've got excess body fat on my body. Why am I still so hungry? It's just your insulin hunger, right? You're obviously not starving, are you? Because you've got body fat on your body, right? And the easiest telltale signs of insulin resistance are a physique like this, right? You're soft. You're carrying excess body fat. You've got love handles. In particular, you will see it around the midsection, okay? That is the first place it will go and be stored as visceral fat. How are we going to fix that? Very, very simple, right? You are hungry all the time. We need to remove the insulin resistance, okay? Just like we spoke about, we have developed an insulin resistance, which means we're getting insulin hungry. So to remove this hunger that you're facing here, we need to remove the insulin resistance, okay? To remove the insulin resistance, we just need to stabilize your blood sugars, okay? Like we mentioned, all the way over here, your insulin is placed under strain. Your pancreas is under strain because you're getting these massive spikes in blood glucose. We're getting too much glucose coming into the body, right? As a response, your pancreas has to work double time to make use of that glucose, convert it into energy through insulin, then transport it to your cells. We need to stabilize your blood sugars. right? And then that way you can give your pancreas a break. Your pancreas can sit there and finally go, oh, okay, right, we don't need to work so hard. We can breathe. We can give ourselves a break. To do that, we need to start adopting a high protein, high fat, lower carbohydrate diet. Now, a lot of people are going to jump to this and go, just do keto, just do this. I don't advise for keto, okay? The reason I don't advise for keto is because it's still nice to have carbohydrates in your diet. We all know that. You can use carbohydrates as a great source of energy for workouts, right? Your muscles love glucose and carbohydrates and sugar as a fuel for your workouts. But the problem is, there's no point giving yourself these carbohydrates if your body can't make use of them. And the reason I like high protein, high fat is high protein is going to cause high satiation. It's obviously going to be amazing for recovery. Fat does the same, right? Fat and protein don't spike your blood sugars half as much, a fraction as much as carbohydrates. So when we opt for higher protein diets and higher fat foods, your body is just not going to be placed in as much strain. Therefore, you're not going to feel as hungry all the time. If you're not as hungry all the time, it makes getting to this point a lot easier. But like I said, I don't want to cut carbohydrates out entirely. There's going to be some days in which you have slightly more carbohydrates, and carbohydrates are still amazing for performance, right? They're going to help you feel amazing during your workouts. You're going to get great pumps because of carbohydrates. But when we do use carbohydrates, it is better 80% of the time to opt for low glycemic carbohydrates. 80% of the carbohydrates you eat should come from sources like these. Fruit should be on this list as well. You can go away and research all low glycemic carbohydrates, but fruit is an amazing one. That could be fresh, that could be dried, that could be frozen. Sweet potato, brown rice, whole grain bread, sourdough bread is fantastic as well. I mean, I personally wouldn't go for dark/milk chocolate. Dark chocolate's higher in fat. Milk chocolate is still fairly high glycemic. The difference between low and high glycemic spikes your blood sugar a lot more. And we know that the higher the spike in blood sugar, the more insulin required to convert the glucose to energy. That is what's causing us to be insulin hungry. That's why we feel hungry all the time, because your blood sugars are out of whack, and we're likely eating too many of these foods. We're likely having too many of the white breads, too many of the white rice, too many of the white potatoes. The unfortunate thing about this is like things like white bread, white rice, white potato, we actually think is really healthy for us. But this is acting in the same manner in our body in which things like donuts are. And that's where the confusion comes in, because you might go, I've eaten really healthy today. I had white bread this morning with some avocado, had white rice with my chicken at lunch, and I had white potatoes with dinner. But you look at that and you go, that is acting in the same way in your body in which a donut is, or like some fries are from a fast food place. That's where people are going wrong, right? And I'm not telling you to cut these foods out. I'm just telling you to reduce them to 20% of the time. And 80% of the time, stick to these things. Stick to your fruit. Stick to your sweet potato. Pumpkin's an amazing one. Not enough people have pumpkin in their diet. Yams, things like that. Amazing. Amazing for sorting out this problem, stabilizing your blood sugars. Amazing for removing insulin resistance, right? Another thing you can obviously do for removing insulin resistance, which you should be doing anyway, is moving more, doing slightly more cardio, being better hydrated, sleeping more. But in particular, this thing will have the biggest reward for you, right? This is going to be your biggest bang for your buck, is sorting out this, having a high protein, high fat diet. This is the way I would break it down, okay? Breakfast, eggs, smoked salmon. Amazing breakfast. If you really want to have some carbohydrates with your breakfast, right, I would always probably go protein, fat if you could. If you want to have some carbohydrates, go for a low glycemic source, right? Sourdough bread, like I mentioned here, is low glycemic. Have it with avocado, with your proteins, and have it with your healthy fats. Avocado and eggs. High in fat, high in protein, amazing for you. If you don't fancy cooking up loads of food in the morning, have some Greek yogurt. Have full fat Greek yogurt. Don't have the low 0% Greek yogurt, because that doesn't have the fat in it and we want the fat. It actually takes the fat out and replaces it with carbohydrates. With some fruit, have it with some honey. I'm happy for honey in your diet. Honey is not ridiculously high glycemic. It also comes from a whole food source. Same, fruit's high in fiber as well. The fact that fruit is high in fiber, it's the fibrous carb sources which slow the digestion of the carb down, which make it low glycemic. Lunch and dinner can be the same sort of thing. Either a steak with sweet potato, beef with brown rice. You might avoid carbs altogether, have a chicken salad. Same with dinner, have some fish. Again, you might have some similar sort of meals here. You can find tons of these options out there, right? I'm not going to leave them all here, because that's what I do with my clients, and that's what my job is, and that they pay me for, is to help them out with things like this. But here's just a few examples for you. You can go away and Google low glycemic dinner or low glycemic carbohydrates. It's so easy. This is something that in the fitness industry they don't want to talk about, because they don't understand, and they think, oh, just lower your calories, eat less. And it's like, if you eat less of what you're eating now, you're going to be fucking starving. But the problem is, you're not actually starving. You're insulin hungry. You're insulin starving, right? Because you need to sort this problem out first, right? If you don't sort this problem out first, you're going to be hungry all the time. And you, in this position right here, never be able to get to the ideal future you. If you want more help with this, as I mentioned a minute ago, I work with guys directly. I help get them in the best shape of their life. I'll leave the application form in the top link of my description. If you don't want to buy from me and you don't want to work for me, I've still got a solution for you. There's loads of free resources that I send out to you guys. So just click the link just below that one. You'll get sent a free training program. You'll get sent a guide on how to increase your testosterone, what supplements to take. It's probably one of the best free resources out there. It's better than most people's coaching. So if you don't want to buy from me, have a look at that. If you've got any questions, leave them in the comments and I'll get back to you straight away.